The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this, but we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this, may we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this, when we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
Lovely, lovely. You'll notice Bjorn has developed a German accent. That's actually Kote, who is beaming in from the other world today to be our Ino. Can everyone hear okay? All right. This series is on Dogen's Genjokoan as the key to Dogen's Zen, but I also really want to say that this is a key to an amazing way of living with wisdom and balance. And this should not be something abstract or from hundreds of years ago, something talking about another world. This is about how we should live right now, where we are. And I hope when I'm done today, you get a little sense of that. Dogen, as we discussed last time, I think wrote this letter to one of his lay followers who I suspect, because of the topics he touches on, may have suffered a loss in his family. But Dogen is talking about much more than that, and his wisdom applies to all the difficulties and ups and downs we face in life. And why is that? Well, some of that, which I would say is kind of unique, not unique, very special for Dogen, maybe in Buddhism, is his vision of what is Buddha, what is enlightenment. And let me explain briefly, though nothing I ever say is brief. Nothing I ever say. Some people have the image, of the Buddha as this great golden statue, this perfect being that maybe 16 feet tall in the temple, and we bow, or this man who lived in India, and somehow we get the sense that he was perfect, beyond all anger, beyond all sadness, beyond all fault. Or maybe there's a cosmic Buddha, somehow this great otherworldly super being in the sky, this other perfect being. And there's also the whole universe, of course, is Buddha. And what I'd like to say is, for Dogen, Buddha was also what we do right now. Because we bring enlightenment, we bring Buddha to life through our choices, through our actions here. And we also can bring the devil to life if we make some bad choices and do some bad things. So Dogen had a sense that this whole reality is a wholeness, all interconnected. I don't want to take that away. That's true, and that's a kind of perfection. It's the perfection of this great symphony that is this universe, or universes upon universes, that whatever it is where we find ourselves, there's a great musical beauty, harmony. I'm just looking out at my garden here, and it's right before my eyes. This is true. This is true. And Dogen did respect the man in India 2005 years ago. And we have these great images of great golden Buddhas, I think, that represent the ideal of what we should shoot for, these stories of these great beings, kind of a symbol of the direction we should go, who we should hope to be. They represent the best, our ideal. But down here, we're living Buddhas, caught in this complicated world. And that is what Dogen is writing about, I think, in these passages today. Let me start. These are, again, my translations, so you can blame me. These first lines from Dogen are, Buddhas are those with great understanding of the nature of delusion. Alas, confused beings are those who are greatly deluded about the nature of enlightenment. How to put this in simpler terms? There are people in this world filled with anger, greed, ignorance. They're so caught up in it, that's all they know. They can't see beyond it. That's what they're living. Their anger is righteous. Their greed is strangling them, but they keep going with it. They're drowning in this world of jealousy and grief and wanting to just be happy and wanting to win and all the, they're lost in the jungle here. The Buddha is down here in the jungle with all of us, but sees through it and somehow is not trapped by it all. Buddhas are those with a great understanding of the nature of delusion, even in this world of delusion, you see. It's like you ever see kids fighting or your relatives fighting, the Thanksgiving dinner, my Uncle Stanley would get into it with my Uncle Arnold about something that happened 30 years ago. And that the story I'm telling actually happened 30 years ago because they've both gone long ago. But 30 years ago, they would sit there at these dinners and get into some fight about something, who was right, who was wrong. 30 years before, they would end up not speaking to each other. And you've been to this dinner, right? And you sit there and you go, what are they fighting about? What is this? It was so long ago. Get rid of it, guys. What's going on? You're kind of seeing through what they're caught in, right? Well, a Buddha is in this world of all the things on the news, all the tragedy, all the war, all the people fighting, and kind of sees through it, maybe to this great wholeness that is the backlight shining through. You see. Now, that doesn't mean, according to me, that you need to be a perfect being. And this is where I get in trouble. I don't think that fellow 2,500 years ago, if you had met him, was made of gold. I think probably, we don't know because it's a long time lost in the fog of history, and we just have these stories that people, our heroes, the stories get polished up and polished up and polished up for thousands of years. So we lose the humanness there sometimes. But shining through the words of Buddha and even Dogen, when you read his words, it wasn't a perfect being. It was a very, very beautiful, wise human being. So I don't care, and I don't expect if Buddha ever got up on the wrong side of the bed, even though they didn't sleep in beds. And I don't care if Dogen sometimes had what we call a bad hair day, even though he had no hair. But they were very wise, very good people, which is what we should all shoot to be, and which I think is attainable by all of us, even if we're not perfect 24/7. Ask my kids and my wife. I'm certainly not perfect 24/7, maybe 7/24. I come close. I don't even think that. But anyway, confused beings are those who are greatly deluded about the nature of enlightenment. Confused beings are ones who think enlightenment is this perfect state I will reach, and I will never have a problem in the world. Everything will suddenly make sense. I will realize that I will always be happy, and every time I go in the store, they will have my flavor of ice cream, whatever it is. Okay? That is a diluted version of enlightenment. On the other hand, for Dogen, I think, to be in this complicated world and see the light shining through to the wholeness, to the balance, to the symphony that is playing, even as for some people it's just noise. If you can hear the symphony of it all, see the light shining through and as the stormy days too, you have a better sense of enlightenment. Enlightenment is not always being in San Diego, blue skies every day. That would actually be kind of boring. Sorry, folks in San Diego. Geika, sorry, she's actually in San Diego. To have rain, to have clouds, to have snow, to have hail, to have heat, to have cold. This is how our world is, and the world would not be the world without it. And to find the balance there, hopefully we keep it in balance and we don't end up like Venus or Mars, don't get me wrong. But this world, there's a certain beauty and balance to this universe. And when we can see that through all the changing weather of life, then we are not the confused beings who are greatly deluded about the nature of enlightenment. We can see the enlightenment even in the dark, like that. And it's not a frozen process. It's not something like, oh, I'm enlightened, I'm done. Where's the key? I'm out of here. Not like that. It's an ongoing practice for Dogen. Choice by choice, day by day, you can act like Buddha 1 minute and a fool or the devil the next. Life is not stagnant, thank you, because we do not live in a picture. This is not a frozen block of ice. Life is changing, vibrant. Every day is a new something. And this is why the world keeps turning and why we have life, you see. So Dogen says, moreover, because life is not stagnant, so a Buddha must continue to realize realization upon realization upon, oh, a little ignorance snuck in there. Oh, bad hair day. Wait, let me get back to it. Realization upon realization upon realization, you see. It's not a you're done, once and you're done kind of thing. Well, ordinary folks just fall into delusion after delusion after delusion after delusion. You see? And you know it. I bet you've all tasted it, especially you folks who have been around life for a while. You have those moments where you go, uh-oh, I'm not handling this so well. I've fallen into the trap of some jealousy, some ignorance. I'm more grieving than I need to be because I know tomorrow will be a sunny day. I'm happy now, but I don't expect it to be that way. But for some reason I want to be. You know when you're you're wrong, okay? But I bet a lot of you know that, hey, wait a second, I'm in a situation now. This is a situation where I could fall into a trap, but hey, I'm handling this with some wisdom, with some balance and compassion. You kind of can judge it for yourself. I'm handling this situation badly because I'm also fighting now with Uncle Stanley and Arnold. You know, I've fallen into the thing. Or I'm sitting there with wisdom as the world is in, shall we say, spinning wildly around me. You know it when you experience it, you see. So our teaching from Dogen is try to be the good way as much as possible. Even if it's not possible, maybe always to be that way in this life. Try to be wise and see the light through the clouds as much as possible. Don't expect to be a golden Buddha who's once and done. Okay? Let me have a sip of my tea and my coffee here. 1 second. Okay. Now, what does it mean to be a Buddha? You get a card from the Buddha's Union and it says on it, authorized Buddha? Do you suddenly sprout long earlobes and curly hair and turn golden skin and the wheels on your feet like in the statue? Some people think so. But I would say, according to Dogen and many of it, you don't have to even call yourself Buddha. You don't have to be a Buddhist. You don't even have to live in Japan or Tibet. You don't even have to be a member of the Buddhist religion. When you act with wisdom and compassion like Buddha, or anyone does, there is Buddha. So thus, Dogen says, Buddha doesn't need to note she is Buddha. Notice I changed the pronoun there. They, she. Yeah, I'm not trying to be like, political about it. Really, Buddha is anyone, is what I mean, who acts good, gently, beautifully, with wisdom and compassion. Buddha doesn't need to note she is Buddha. Nevertheless, Buddhas are just living Buddhas who keep on living Buddha by bringing Buddha to life. Dig it. Bjorn, we got to get a song with that, right? Buddhas are just living Buddhas who keep on living Buddha by bringing Buddha to life, which is what you do when you act with the wisdom and compassion of a Buddha. Corollary, devils are just living devils who keep on living evil by bringing the devil to life. Hallelujah. I sound like a Mississippi preacher, but you know what I mean. We believe in, bad conduct too. Okay. Now, Buddha also knew many sides of Buddha. Don't get me wrong. Buddha, for us Zen folks, is not just a one-faced person or being. First off, as I just said, it's all your faces. When you act like Buddha, Buddha is literally all your faces. And when you act like the devil, little horns appear and a tail. I'm telling you. Okay? On all of you. We had Canon here with her 1,000 hands. I also said too, that's an aspect of Buddha. When you act with compassion, her 1,000 hands are your hands. When you pick up a stone or a weapon, those are also your hands too. Like that. But the other face of Buddha is this face that is the whole thing, the whole dance, the whole symphony, which you are too, one of the notes. You're a note in the symphony, which is the whole symphony, my friend. Your life is one vibration of the string in the violin section, which is the music itself. Okay? So we also have this aspect of Buddha, which is the whole symphony. which is all of us too. And we're not just separate beings. There's no such thing as a vibration of the string that is separate from the music. There is no such thing as a separate note. Being the vibration, the note is the whole music poured into that one note, poured into that one vibration, poured into you. And Dogen had a sense that the whole music dance is pouring in and out of each one of us too. When we feel separate from all of reality, it's vital that we realize it's not so. And I think when Dogen was writing to his friend here, or his student who lost someone, he might have been trying to say, your son or your wife or whoever passed, their note is over. And we're sad. It was a beautiful note. That person's note has passed. But the music is continuing. And as long as the music continues, where have they gone? Like that. So our practice is to realize our separateness and live well, but also to realize that we're this whole thing, you see? So then Dogen says, when one sees the forms or hears the sounds of the world, fully and wholly with body and mind, and I added in parentheses, these are more my words, free of judgment, free of separating mental categories, transcending me, my, mine, you, your, yours. When one sees the forms or hears the sounds of the world, fully and wholly with body and mind, free of judgment, free of mental categories, transcending me, my, mine, one intimately understands without separation. It's that moment when you get lost in the music. You ever been at a concert and you're listening to the music, the musicians are playing on the stage, and then you're just totally swept in. Literally a rave, man. It's a rave without needing to take ecstasy. Though I think that does it for some people too. That's not that I'm encouraging that. I'm just saying, when you get swept into the music and you become the music and your dance moves on the floor, which, by the way, if you see me, I've been one of these people. I thought I was dancing great, you know. Oh man, I just got, and then later I saw a video of me dancing and it looked more like this. You know, it doesn't, when you're swept in, man, and you just think your dancing is you're the music is you realize that you're the whole thing, right? Then it is not like some object and its reflection in a mirror, and it is unlike the moon and its reflection in distant water, whereby one side is illuminated and the other side is left in the dark. Little footnote here. When I translated this, I looked closely at the Japanese and I looked at every English translator, and mine is a little different. And I think from the grammar reading, I don't think I'm wrong. And I don't want to say everyone else is wrong. But theirs says more, it is like the object and its reflection in the mirror. And it is like the moon and its reflection in the water. Let me just explain this. But the point is exactly the same as I'm making from those other people, and it has to do with the next sentence. We think that everything is apart, right? The moon's up there, the water's down here. There's a thing over there and it's reflected in the mirror over there. Or I'm here and Bion is over there in Spain, right? But really we taste such a wholeness that all the separation disappears. It is not like where one side is illuminated and the other side is left in the dark. There's a wholeness to it. And the reason it doesn't really matter is this. Dogen said, in another section of Genjokoan we'll get to, that the moon's up there, but the moon is reflected in every blade of grass, every bead of dew, every ripple of the water. So even though it looks separate, it's not. The things that look like they're reflected in the mirror are actually inside the mirror. So the appearance of separation is actually the wholeness. The moon that appears to be up in the sky is actually fully held in each blade of grass, drop of dew, ripple of the water. You, of course, are a separate being from me, but yet we're all, look at this, on a single screen. Hey, we got a special effect here we can use. Look at that. You, all of us, there's just a single screen that is all of us, even though we're separate. Something like that. The separation is the wholeness. Maybe in the future we'll say the moon in the sky, the images in the mirror, the little boxes on the Zoom screen are one. Okay? You get a sense of this. The appearance of being separate is not the whole story. So let me just read it again. When we see the forms and hear the sounds of the world fully and wholly with body and mind, one intimately understands without separation. Then it is not like some object and its reflection in a mirror. Or you could say, yes, then it is like some object and its reflection in a mirror, which is one. Yes, it is not like the moon and its reflection in distant water. Or yes, it is like the moon and its reflection fully in every dewdrop. Whereby it's not only that one side is illuminated and the other side is left dark. The light and dark are also one thing. Right? Did you see the beautiful moon we had? And it's going to repeat, they say, at the end of this month. What do they call it? Not the harvest moon.
Supermoon.
Supermoon. It was huge, right? And now the moon is again becoming smaller, there's shadows, right? The moon's not going anyplace, right? And then the moon will reappear. So the light and the dark are not two things, you see. The wholeness is one. I hope that got it. I didn't muddle that too much. And now the famous passage. How do you realize this wholeness? How do you realize the wholeness? Because we feel like little separate selves. This is Buddhism 101, basic Buddhism as expressed by by Dogen. For to master the Buddha way is to learn the self. To learn what is the self, I think he's trying to say, to learn what the self really is. To learn who you really are is to learn the self. Who are you really? What are we really? For to master the Buddha way is to learn the self, to learn who we are, what we are really. To learn the self, to learn what we are really, is to drop the separate self from mind. To drop the separate self from mind is to be actualized by the myriad things, by the endless things of this world, by the whole universe. You find that you are that is you. I get to repeat my favorite, I'm going to trademark this, my Jundo analogy that I bring in every month. The tree is you standing in the garden. You right now are the tree listening to me talk. Jundo is Bion in Japan. Bion is Jundo in Spain. Like that. We're everything, the whole thing, and each other. To drop the separate self from mind is to be actualized by the myriad things of the world. when actualized by the myriad things, myriad means all the things, the countless things, one's body and mind, one's own body and mind, as well as the bodies and minds of others drop away. The separation, the division drops away. And you might say, enlightenment. And Dogen says, first off, it's so whole, even the word enlightenment, let's get rid of that too. What do we need that word for? You don't label something that's beyond names. You don't put a category on something that's beyond categories. That's how whole it is. So he says, in such intimacy, such wholeness, no trace even of the word enlightenment, no, the idea of enlightenment remains. We don't need it. And this no trace continues endlessly. See? Endlessly. And it has been since the beginning of time, and it will be to the end of time, and it's even, there must be something timeless to it, something beyond time to it. But whatever it is, it's on and on, continuing endlessly. And this is you. This is the symphony that kind of has no end, I guess. Beautiful symphony. Even though your little vibration, your little note, I'm sorry to say, it comes for a moment and then it's gone. But the symphony which you are, it keeps playing, you see. And maybe, I don't know, maybe a later act, our vibration comes back. I don't know. That's something we can leave for another time. But we are the music, and as long as the music keeps playing, we keep playing. Now again, Dogen also had the other side of enlightenment. He said, just realizing this wholeness is not the whole story. Then we got to go back to where we started today. It's also how we live. Some people think that if you realize the wholeness beyond separation, you're done. That's Buddhism. You're finished. And we Zen folks tend to say, there's a nice little saying, that's only 80%, which means it's half-baked. It's not the complete. What's the rest of enlightenment? Going back to where we started. How you live, the choices you make, bringing the Buddha to life is the other rest of it. You don't get this realization and then turn around and become an SOB, son of the Buddha. What did you think I meant? You don't get this realization, turn around and start pillaging and robbing banks. That's not going to make you an enlightened pillager and pirate. We get this realization, that's important, the wholeness of it all, but also how we live. That's the rest. That's it. That's all I got.